Hey everybody, this is Mr. Fowles again, and today we're talking about New England again, but we're talking about commerce and religion. And we're talking about the development of the colony, not just how it was founded. And we know that New England was originally settled with, the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and that was in 1630. So we're talking a little bit after that it was settled, but a little bit more about what exactly happened there. So there's your bell work. This is a scary little picture. Lightning coming in. Are witches real? How can you tell if a woman is a witch? And this might seem funny to you, but these are questions that at some point in America's history were very potent and meaningful. If you have trouble answering the questions, you can just describe the picture. But there's really no right answer. Here are your notes: Navigation Acts, Triangular Trade, and King Philip's War. It's kind of small, but we're going to go kind of into these Navigation Acts and Triangular Trade especially. We're talking about how New England was able to thrive, but I want you to think about how that prosperity changed New England. So there's a Puritan dilemma. They managed to get pretty wealthy, and we're going to talk about how they did that. But their wealth changed them. Whenever you have a community that gets kind of wealthy, then people begin to enjoy luxury items, nicer clothes. There are fashions that were designed to show off your wealth. But that was really at odds with the Puritan belief and really conservative dress and living a very meaningful life, spiritual life, I suppose. So how do you think they could reconcile this? No real answer. But let's talk about how New England got wealthy. And the answer was they had a great deal of natural resources. First of all, we had the pretty epic coastline here. And whereas coastline, there are fish. And we have water on this side and wood on this side from forests. And so you can build ships. You can see these ships here on this map. Use the map key. And there's two things. We have the shaded areas, which tell us some major exports of this whole area with furs and skins, and here it's cattle and grain. But within that we have these smaller areas. Looks like here a whaling product. That's kind of cool. And then iron and ships and rum and lumber. Timber specifically. Unrefined timber. So what's important here is that these ports became very prominent shipbuilding ports, and New Englanders built some pretty darn good ships. And soon their ships were competing with English ships for international trade. And so these merchants in New England, these Puritan merchants, were making a great deal of money. And so that's some pictures of them building ships. So England becomes angry because the colonies are generating money not for England, but for New England. Oh, that's kind of confusing. New England is making money for New England, not England. So England is unhappy because its colonies are not producing for it. They're producing for themselves, as any group of autonomous people might like to, justifiably. So here's a little think, pair, share, TPS. If you're the King of England, and your notice, your, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, U-R, your colonies, those colonies which belong to you are your colonies. So you're the King of England, and your colonies are making themselves rich with their boats. What do you do? Take a second and think about that. If you're going to be the King of England, you know, your colonies are out there, they're making money for themselves because they have this somewhat free market because, well, you're on the other side of the ocean. You can't really do much. Well, the historical answer is the Navigation Acts of 1651. And there were 4 provisions of these Navigation Acts. First is that any good carried between an English colony in England or anywhere else could only be on an English ship or a ship made in an English colony. So no contracting with French sailors, I suppose. And then products from North America, the products that were in abundance there, tobacco, which we talked about, wood, sugar, could only be sold to England or its colonies. So England said that they couldn't sell to anyone they wanted, so you can't bargain for a better price. You know, if I'm trying to sell any typical good, I can go to a couple people and sell to the highest bidder, but England said that they could be the only bidder, so they could keep the price artificially low. 3, anything that was made in Europe that was going to a colony had to go through England first. So England wanted to skim some tariff money off of something that passed through its ports. So they, if I was a colonist, a North American colonist, and I wanted to order some French goods, the goods had to go from France, then to England, and then to me. And last, England just gave itself the right to tax goods going from any goods going from North America to somebody besides England. So if there was an item that was not tobacco, sugar, or wood, if something was going to France, for example, England just got it to tax it kind of randomly, even though they had nothing to do with the purchase. That lumber was made in North America, the product was made in North America and was going to France. England just kind of zapped in there and took some money off the top, which that theme of English almost tyrannical control over North American commerce is going to come up again and again and again and again. And of course, when you have any rules, people will break them, including this guy here, who's got a big black beard, and his name is in fact Blackbeard. I think his real name is Edward Teach, also considered Thatch. He was a British fella, and he was a pirate. And a pirate's job is to go around English control mechanisms. England sent boats to try to patrol the coastline, but there was such a great big coastline that they couldn't get around. So pirates came and they smuggled goods, and they helped a black market develop for certain goods. Kind of fun. It's not really, it's like a rest stop in American history to think about. It's kind of fun, but nobody's going to argue that it's heavily impactful. So in that trade we're talking about, of which England got a share from taxation, we have the triangular trade coming back. And what you want to do is you want to trace a particular boat from New England, leaving New England with rum and iron. Because if we go back to our map, we've got rum and iron. So all this rum and iron is leaving New England, taken to Africa on a boat. That boat unloads its rum and iron, picks up slaves, takes the slaves to the West Indies. This is that Middle Passage we've spoken about earlier. And it would drop the slaves off in the West Indies and pick up molasses and sugar and take it to New England, and then drop it off, pick up more rum and iron, and go back and forth. And that's kind of circular, but we like to call it the triangle trade. Now notice Europe is not involved in this trade. So Europe just gets, England especially, just gets to sit back and enjoy the profits, but the ships keep moving. And New England merchants, they made money transporting and trading slaves, but they didn't own many because there weren't that many plantations there. So again, we have a large, burgeoning English colony that is made on Native American land, and some theme that will creep up again and again is that there was a Native American uprising, this one called King Philip's War. And it started in 1675, and it lasted about a year. And really, the thing that makes this one unique is that the colonies turned to other Native American tribes to fight King Philip's tribe, the Wampanoag, and so this shows that some of the Native American tribes were willing to work with the English settlers against their enemies. So it's almost like the enemy of my enemy is a friend kind of mentality, something to think about. And then enough prosperity and the Puritans got a bit insane. They got extremely materialistic and they started dressing very fancy, even though their religious inclinations would lead them towards a little bit more modesty. And then in 1691, the Royal Charter. Remember, they were not a private colony; they were a royal colony. They had a royal charter, so the king could change it at will. And he guaranteed religious freedom for everyone, not just the Puritans. Bear in mind that the Puritans were not exactly well looked upon in England. So the king decided to give everyone a shot. And then lastly, this really sordid affair of American history, the Salem witch trial, whereby in Salem, Massachusetts, several girls claimed to have been bewitched by an old lady, and then suddenly the entire colony went crazy hunting witches. 19 girls were killed. 19 girls and women were killed because the populace thought they were witches. They were hanged, and some men also, and 2 dogs were killed. So there's not a lot of sanity to this part of the Puritan phase of American history. But what's left is the work ethic, as always said. The Puritans supposed to have this high work ethic. After all, they made these great big ships, and Puritans believed that everyone ought to read. So, because they thought everyone should read the Bible, so everyone was taught to read in New England, and well, that's enough for it, for what we need to do. So that's a classwork if you're in my class. But really, the take-home is that New England exploited the resources of the area, which didn't in any real sense belong to them, because how can you give away trees if you don't own the trees? And they made these ships, which they used, but then they used in the triangle trade, which is regulated by the Navigation Acts, circumvented by Blackbeard, and was all done to the chagrin of King Philip, who had an uprising. So if you wanted to kind of put that all in one sentence, that's how you do that. Alright, thank you very much.